Last night, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressed the nation of Israel in a rare press conference. Netanyahu answered pressing questions regarding Gaza, Iran, and regional developments, but also shocked reporters with an explosive comment on the Biden administration. ILTV's Caleb Ben David reports.
Prime Minister Netanyahu gave the Israeli press a rare opportunity to question him directly last night during a press conference to mark the release of the last hostage held in Gaza, Master Sergeant Ron Gvili. With the Iran crisis heating up, Netanyahu was asked about reports that the Trump administration is holding secret talks with the Iranian regime without Israel's knowledge, drawing this response from the Prime Minister.
לגבי הקביעות שלך, לגבי המהלכים של ארצות הברית עומדת איתנו בקשר רצוף. ואני לא רוצה לקבוע לנשיא טראמפ מה הוא יעשה או לא יעשה, מה ידבר, לא ידבר, זה החלטות שלו, אבל אני אומר לך שאנחנו, איך אגיד לך, מדווחים בצורה מלאה, מעבר לזה אני לא רוצה להתייחס.
Regarding Gaza, Netanyahu insisted that phase 2 of the Trump peace plan, which will advance this week with the reopening of the Rafah crossing, will not move to the reconstruction stage unless Hamas disarms, nor will Israel allow Turkey and Qatar a security role in Gaza.
אני שומע גם עכשיו את האמירות שנאפשר את שיקום עזה לפני הפירוז. זה לא יקרה. אני שומע שנכניס חיילים טורקים וחיילים קטרים לעזה. גם זה לא יקרה. אני שומע שאני אאפשר הקמת מדינה פלסטינית בעזה. זה לא קרה וזה לא יקרה.
But the comment from Netanyahu that's making the most headlines was his explosive charge that the Biden administration's withholding of certain arms shipments to Israel during the Gaza war ended up costing the lives of Israeli soldiers.
ופשוט בשלב מסוים לא היה לנו מספיק תחמושת. ואנשים נפלו, גיבורים נפלו. חלק מאובדן התחמושת הזה היה גם כתוצאה מאמברגו. ואני גמרתי אומר שלא נגיע למצב הזה יותר. שאנחנו חייבים שתהיה לנו תעשיית נשק רובוסטית ועצמאית ככל האפשר. אגב, המצב הזה של האמברגו השתנה עד לבלי הכר עם כניסת הממשל של הנשיא טראמפ.
Those remarks drew fire from Democrats in the United States, including from former Biden Mideast envoy Amos Hochstein, who shot back that after the military support Israel received from the U.S. during the Gaza and Iran conflicts, quote, the only acceptable response to President Biden and the American people is thank you.
As Iran faces continuous internal unrest and is responsible for a brutal and deadly crackdown on protesters, the United States is moving major naval assets into the Middle East, and Israel is watching every development closely. U.S. President Donald Trump confirmed that an additional large American naval force, including aircraft carriers, destroyers, and support vessels, is moving toward the region within striking distance of Iran. The buildup is intended to deter Iranian aggression and signal readiness as the situation rapidly evolves. The military deployment comes as Iran faces one of the most serious internal crises in years. A New York Times report suggests that the Iranian government's hold on power is at its weakest point since the Shah was overthrown in the 1979 revolution. Thousands, if not tens of thousands, of Iranians have been killed as the regime's security forces responded to protests with live fire, mass arrests, and sweeping internet shutdowns. The exact number is yet to be confirmed, as an internet blackout was in place to cover for the grotesque murderous actions. The regime has deployed Revolutionary Guard units internally and issued increasingly severe warnings, including threats of executions against protesters accused of waging war against God. Iranian officials have accused foreign powers, including Israel and the U.S., of fueling the unrest, a familiar tactic as pressure mounts at home. In Israel, the developments are being closely monitored at the highest levels. Security officials say Israel is on heightened alert, with Prime Minister Netanyahu warning the Iranian regime that any attack on their part will be met with the force they've never seen before. Meanwhile, U.S. officials stress that the military pressure is designed to limit Iran's ability to fund repression at home and aggression abroad, though Trump was also quoted saying he hopes Tehran makes a deal with Washington.
And in June, we obliterated Iran's nuclear capacity in Operation Midnight Hammer. You saw that. People have been waiting for 22 years to do that, and we were right at the end. They were about a month away from having a nuclear weapon. We had to do it. And by the way, there's another beautiful armada floating beautifully toward Iran right now. So we'll see. I hope they make a deal. I hope they make a deal. They should have made a deal the first time they'd have a country.
And as all of these developments unfold and the looming question of U.S. military action in the region grows, CENTCOM have announced that the United States military will conduct a major Air Force exercise in the Middle East. ILTV's Devo Klein has that story.
As American military presence continues to build in the region in anticipation of an escalation against the Islamic regime in Iran, CENTCOM have announced an operational readiness exercise with deployments to contingency sites. The military's goal is to test readiness and demonstrate the ability to deploy, disperse, and sustain combat air power as concerns of a possible confrontation with Iran's regime continues to grow. According to CENTCOM, the exercise is intended to improve the dispersal of assets and personnel, strengthen regional partnerships, and prepare for rapid responses throughout the command's area. Air crews will deploy to multiple contingency locations with the approval of host nations and in close coordination with civilian and military aviation authorities, the statement said. The announcement followed the arrival of the U.S. aircraft carrier Abraham Lincoln in the Middle East, accompanied by several warships. Now, with the readiness drill and the U.S. Armada in place and poised to strike, all eyes remain on President Donald Trump to see what comes next.
And to help us better understand these issues, we're now joined by Joe Truzman, Senior Research Analyst and Editor at FDD's Long War Journal. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So an American attack in Iran seemed imminent for the last days and even a couple of weeks, but it hasn't happened yet. What is your assessment? Is Washington moving warships and air power into the region right now for deterrence or in actual preparation for an attack?
Right. I think when President Trump told the Iranian people several weeks ago that help was on the way, I think he meant it. I think President Trump's recent statement and post on Truth Social was a simple warning to the Iranian regime: make a deal, or suffer the consequences. I think this is what we're seeing now. And of course, this is being supported by American naval assets. This naval armada that has moved into the region isn't a symbolic gesture. All right, I think it's real pressure. So I think this is what we're seeing now. But it takes time for these assets to move to the region. So I'm not surprised it is taking time. But the big question right now, of course, is whether President Trump's going to authorize these strikes on the Iranian regime. But also, I think it's important to understand what will these strikes accomplish? Is the president or is the United States trying to topple this regime or help topple this regime, or just enact consequences against the regime for brutally crushing these protests? We don't know the answer to that just yet. But I think a lot of people, especially the Iranian demonstrators that are in Tehran and other parts of Iran, of course, are all waiting to see what the president decides to do.
So as you say, Trump is heard saying he hopes they take a deal. Can you elaborate on what kind of a deal is he talking about? What would make him stop any plan he may have had to strike Iran? Because this wasn't just about nuclear weapons this time.
Correct. Even though it wasn't about nuclear weapons, I still think it is somewhat, at least, about nuclear weapons.
Of course.
I think, of course, but nevertheless, I think there are also other important aspects to this. Iran's ballistic missile program, for example, Iran's support for its terrorist proxy networks and clients in the region. I think President Trump wants Iran to stop supporting these groups. It wants Iran to either dismantle or limit its ballistic missile program as well. So, and there are other issues on the table as well. I think if Iran were to agree to something like that, I think it could stave off a potential U.S. strike. But I don't see Iran doing that, to be quite honest. The ballistic missile program, it's almost its crown jewel of its offensive and defensive or deterrent capabilities, right? And of course, its proxy networks in the region are key to the Islamic regime's survival in Iran and, of course, in the region. So I don't think it will compromise on these issues. Nevertheless, things can change. So we'll just have to see what happens.
So there are reports in Israeli media circulating now saying that the U.S. and Iran might actually be secretly in talks, ones that Israel is not involved in. Would you speculate that this is true?
Absolutely. It wouldn't surprise me if this is true. I think this is why we heard President Trump say that Iran should take a deal. All right. He also, again, as I mentioned earlier, published a post on Truth Social directing Iran to make a deal. All right. I think this is this is a way of him pressuring the leadership in Iran. And of course, he mentioned the massive naval armada that is in the region. And of course, this is the consequence of not making a deal. So President Trump is making it clear, all right, let's make a deal. I think that's what he's after more than anything here. But this is a brutal regime that we're dealing with, that the United States is dealing with. So things aren't that simple. So again, this may happen. It wouldn't surprise me if secret talks are happening. But again, it doesn't mean that things will work out. We just have to see.
Joe Tresman, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we've got some exciting news. You can now get Israel updates on our WhatsApp channel. Breaking stories, live updates, and verified reports, all delivered fast and accurate. Just scan the QR code on your screen to join.
The story of the Jewish people has never been about standing still. It's a story of moving forward, of taking responsibility, of protecting what matters, no matter the challenge. That story is still being written today, not with swords, but with stewardship of the land, with the rule of law, and with the determination to secure Israel's future. And on the front lines of that mission stands Regavim. Regavim is a public movement dedicated to defending Israel's national land and natural resources in the field, in the courts, and in the public square. Through research, on-the-ground action, and legal advocacy, Regavim works to uphold the rule of law and to ensure that Israel can grow, thrive, and remain rooted in its homeland.
And now the final hostage to be returned from Gaza, Ran Gvili, has been laid to rest. His funeral took place today in southern Israel. Gvili was just 24 years old when he was killed defending Kibbutz Alumim during the October 7th attacks. His body was abducted into the Gaza Strip, and it took more than 2 years for the IDF to recover his remains. ILTV's India Naftali joins us now from Hostage Square in Tel Aviv. India, what can you tell us about today's funeral?
Sivan, it's been an emotional 2 years of waiting for every hostage to come home. While today is a day the country grieves, what I am hearing from Israelis is that Ran Gvili's proper burial offers the nation some much-needed closure. The casket of Master Sergeant Ran Gvili was escorted by a police motorcade this morning to his hometown in southern Israel. Gvili, who served as a police officer in Israel's Special Yassam unit, was honored by fellow police officers who lined the route to pay their final respects. At the funeral, thousands were in attendance. There, Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Herzog both gave a eulogy.
אנחנו פעלנו ואנחנו מצאנו את רני. בכך השגנו את מה שייחלנו לו 843 ימים, להחזיר את כל אחינו ואחיותינו הביתה. וזה עדיין לא סוף פסוק. אנחנו דבקים גם ביעדינו האחרים, לפרק את החמאס מנשקו, לפרז את הרצועה, וגם את זה נשיג. ידעו מבקשי נפשנו שמי שמניף יד על ישראל ישלם מחיר כבד מנשוא.
Gavili's family also gave moving and emotional remarks.
אני טלי גבילי, אמא גאה של רן גבילי, שוטר יס"מ, חטוף, הראשון לצאת, האחרון לחזור, האחרון שחזר.
אני כל כך גאה להיות אבא שלך, ואתה חסר לי כל שנייה, כל שנייה וכל דקה. אוהב אותך, אוהבים אותך, מתגעגעים אליך. תודה רבה לכולם על הכבוד שאתם נותנים לנו. זה הכבוד בשבילו, לא בשבילנו. תודה.
On the morning of October 7th, 2023, Ron Gavili messaged his friends that he had been shot in the leg. That was the last time he was heard from. They later came to learn that he had been killed and abducted into Gaza. Earlier this week, the IDF recovered his body in a cemetery in eastern Gaza City. Gavili, a young man who loved life, motorcycles, his family, and his country, has finally been laid to rest. And also yesterday evening, the clock here in Hostage Square that used to be counting the number of days, hours, minutes, and seconds that the hostages have been in Gaza finally stopped at 843 days, 12 hours, 5 minutes, and 59 seconds, officially closing what is one of the most painful chapters of Israel's history. Sivan, for the last time from Hostage Square, back to you.
Thank you very much, Andy. U.S. President Donald Trump has launched the new Gaza Board of Peace designed to guide reconstruction and post-war governance. This body, envisioned as a global conflict resolution forum, held its founding ceremony on the sidelines of the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland this month, and nearly 24 countries have accepted invitations to join, with Argentina and El Salvador being some of the latest.
U.S. President Donald Trump's ambitious Board of Peace for Gaza continues to attract international attention as new countries agree to participate in the body intended to oversee reconstruction and governance after the long war with Hamas. Originally unveiled by Trump at the World Economic Forum in Davos this month, the Board of Peace is envisioned as a new multilateral framework that could extend beyond Gaza to address global conflicts. Trump has appointed himself chairman, designating him as the ultimate authority over all aspects of Gaza's future administration. So far, more than 24 countries have signed on, including Albania, Bulgaria, Turkey, Pakistan, Morocco, and Kosovo, alongside regional players such as Egypt and the United Arab Emirates, with Argentina and El Salvador being some of the latest. Key Western powers have declined, however, or delayed participation. France, the United Kingdom, Germany, and several Nordic states have either rejected invites outright or are reportedly reviewing the board's mandate, questioning its scope and potential overlap with the United Nations. Israeli officials have voiced mixed reactions, with eyebrows raised over the participation of Pakistan, who has no diplomatic relations with Israel, along with the controversial Turkey and Qatar, who have openly hosted and/or funded Hamas. Furthermore, Hamas itself is reportedly also signaling a desire to be involved in Gaza's post-war governance and is seeking to integrate 40,000 of its members, including 10,000 Hamas police officers, into the technocratic Gaza government, a stance sharply rejected by Israel and many board members who insist that reconstruction must follow demilitarization and disarmament of Hamas.
As tensions rise and warnings may come too late, humanitarian groups can't afford to wait. Jamie Geller joins us now to explain how Yad Ezra V'Shulamit is preparing to ensure no one goes hungry if Israel comes under fire. Jamie Geller, thanks for joining.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, recent reports suggest Israel could receive only minutes warning if the U.S. strikes Iran. What does operating under that level of uncertainty mean for humanitarian organizations like Yad Ezra V'Shulamit?
The question on everyone's mind is, will there be war? Won't there be war? It's a very unsettling way to live and exist. But the bottom line is we have to be prepared no matter what. We have to make sure that we can get food to the people who are under fire.
And how are you preparing on the ground to respond immediately if the situation escalates?
We must stock the warehouses with ready cooked foods ready to eat. That is really critical to ensure that everyone can actually eat when they are stuck in bomb shelters. We've done this before. We did it in June, and we will do it again. We know what we're doing. Yad Ezra Shulamit actually distributes 12,000 food baskets every single week to 95 distribution points all across Israel. It's critical that the warehouses have ready-cooked meals and ready-to-eat food fully stocked, and therefore we can distribute it north, south, central Israel, all across the country.
Now, security officials say the IDF itself may have short notice ahead of an attack, with the public only notified once missiles are already being fired. So how do you plan for that?
We don't have the luxury of waiting. We have to prepare now. It's about stocking warehouses, securing logistics, access routes, a tremendous amount of coordination that's needed to ensure that those that may be trapped in bomb shelters for extended periods of time, like the elderly, people with disabilities who don't have the luxury of running in and out and back and forth, but may actually have to shelter in place in their bomb shelter, have food that they need to eat and survive, ready to eat food. And that only happens because we prepare now beforehand.
So has Yad Ezra Shulamit already begun preparations for this round?
Of course, we have already begun preparations, but we need your help in terms of ensuring the warehouses are fully stocked. We need to stock the warehouses not just in the center of the country, but in the north and the south, so that we can be close to all populations. And of course, we need to be ready in the event of missile impact. We all know what that means and the devastation that that can bring. So we've done this before. We are going to be prepared to do it again, all the while praying to God that there will not be a war. But as a humanitarian organization here in Israel, we need to be prepared. We are on the front lines of ensuring that people have the food they need to survive.
What can the viewers do to help?
As I said, no one wants war. We are praying for peace, but we are on the front lines of ensuring that everyone has the food they need if they are stuck in their bomb shelters for extended periods of time. We are talking about those who cannot afford food, the disabled and the elderly, everyone from the north to the south to the central of Israel. To wait for the first siren is suicide. We must prepare, just as the IDF prepares. The humanitarian organizations of Israel, Yad Ezra Shulamit, must be prepared. We need money for gas for the 15 trucks that will be going to 95 distribution points and beyond, from shelter to shelter, if that's what it takes, to ensure people have the food they need to survive this crisis.
Well, thank you, Jamie. In this time of uncertainty, you can make a difference too. Scan the QR code to help the biggest food distribution organization in Israel, Yad Ezra Shulamit, prepare to respond in case of emergency and feed those in Israel who need it most. Now let's take a look at the weather forecast. Cloudy skies and rainy showers are expected around most of the country tonight, with temperatures reaching lows of 11 degrees Celsius or 52 degrees Fahrenheit. Then tomorrow we'll see cloudy skies and isolated rainfall alongside steady temperatures, seeing highs of 18 degrees Celsius or 64 degrees Fahrenheit. That's a wrap for today's news. For the latest updates from Israel on all your devices, be sure to follow our ILTV channels and keep up with us on social media. That's at ILTV_Israel on all platforms. Stay informed with the latest news straight from the heart of Israel. I'm Sivan Raviv. Be well, be safe, and thank you so much for watching.